Comedy club bands never last.
Danny Murr, God rest his soul, that creepy motherfucker. Danny Murr was a jealous guy. Did you ever work for Danny Murr?
No, I don't think so.
Him? Okay.
No.
When I first moved to LA, the Tempe Improv was the premier improv. Like, you just didn't work Tempe. Like, you'll never work Tempe. Like, you had to be recommended and recommended and recommended, but you had to be recommended by coke fiends. Because his favorite comics were coke fiends or anybody that was a celebrity he would mooch up for. So the guy that owned Tempe was an AA guy. Like, the guy that really owned the club was an Alcoholics Anonymous guy who hated alcohol. He had bought the club when he was a drinker, and now that he was the president of AA of Arizona, so he didn't let you drink on stage. He didn't want nothing like that. He wanted to sell food. So the club was really weird. The owner was, so the general manager posed as the owner, and he lost to Erik Griffin. Erik Griffin, we talked about it this week. We saw the decline. Like, he was just a club guy that really cared. He knew how to book good comedians. He booked a good feature. He knew how to, not put a dirty act together with a clean act. He just knew a bunch of shit. But then he lost his mind. And he loved Joe Rogan. So every time I would go down there, he would be in my ear, tell me where Rogan's going to drink afterward. And I would tell him, Danny, he don't want you around, because Danny would do coke. And this was when Rogan didn't get high at all. That he didn't even understand that concept. And he would go, that guy creeps me out. Look at his jaw, how he moves his jaw and shit. And I was thinking, one night we all went out, and we were in Scottsdale at a club. And then Joe was on Fear Factor. So we were talking to
that's a while ago.
This is how long we've been going to that club. Who was the chick that was married to Tito Ortiz, the porn star?
Jenna Jameson.
Jenna Jameson lived in Tempe, in Phoenix or something at the time. And she was there with her then husband at this club with us, Danny, I think Ari, and they let us stay at the club a little while longer while everybody got out. When we got out, some kid took a bunch of ecstasy and didn't wait for the valet. He got in the car and he ran over the valet and like 3 other kids. So we walked out of it. I just remembered this. We walked out of there and bodies were all over the place. Somebody had thrown a brick at the windshield to stop the car, and the kid was bleeding from his fucking head. The cops were there. They had the crime scene up. It was fucking crazy. Like, Tempe's a crazy fucking place. But
and it's too hot.
But eventually Danny Murr lost his mind. He lost the club, and then they reopened it. And the owners of this club, one of them is Joel, and it's interesting that I was there at the Improv, the Miami Improv, the night Joel started. Like, he even came to the club this week, and he goes,
Man, you've been in it a while, man.
Yeah, 27 fucking years, man. How long have you been doing it?
Man, for real, since 2003.
No shit.
Yeah.
So when I met you, you had just...
Yeah, I just...
you were doing it 4 years when I met you.
Yeah. I just, earlier, I took like a comedy class when I was like 22. And then I started to go to open mics a little bit, but I wasn't really trying to do it. And then it just, it was a pipe dream. That's what I thought. And I just didn't have it at that time. And then it wasn't until 8 years later that I was like, okay, I really want to do this. And that's when I started going to open mics every day and really trying to make it.
What did you do for those 8 years?
I was going to school. I was working. I didn't know what my life was going to be. I just thought, I was born and raised in LA. So you're born and raised in this environment. It's different when you're from someplace else and you see the dream and you think, I'm going to work to get there. I grew up here. So, you go to a comedy club and you go, well, how do you get on stage? There was no mentors. There was nobody trying to help you. There was nobody trying to tell you how to do it or anything like that. So, I needed to be older to figure out okay, I got to build relationships. I got to cultivate relationships.
It's interesting you say that because I started working with Joey 6-7 years ago. And I've always messaged Joey because I was a stand-up fan, but I never thought I wanted to do it. Mm-hmm. And then now, 6 months ago, I started doing open mics. And every once in a while, I'll kick myself almost I should have started 6 years. Where would I be? But I don't think I'd be ready. Are you glad that you waited those 8 years?
No, people always say you shouldn't have regrets, but I don't feel like that. I feel like whatever you regret pushes you to work harder wherever you're at now. Like maybe you say, well, I shouldn't have done that. I don't believe in, everything happens for a reason. No, I'm just making up for it. That's all.
Right.
You know, I just knew I just fast tracked at that point because it was like when I was going to open mics, Jamie Kennedy was going to open mics and living on people's couches. I went to an open mic with Jim Gaffigan. I went to open mic, all these people. So you cut to like 8 years later and I'm looking at all these people that are like, wow, look, everybody's doing it. Why did I stop? So instead of thinking like, oh my God, what am I going to do? It made me go, oh, I got to really bust my ass.
Now, what was going on through your mind those 8 years? Were you watching Comedy Central?
No, I was like, I wasn't. I really wasn't like.
Were you going to the movies?
I was going to the movies, exactly. I was watching like, and the thing that I always remember the thing that really clicked in me was like watching Raw, like Eddie Murphy's Raw. Like that was really the thing that I looked at and I was like, oh man, that's the first time I really thought, I think I want to do that. But I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go. So that's why it took so long to finally figure it out.
Is that the weirdest feeling when you're helpless?
Yeah, man.
That's a helpless feeling. Oh,
dude. Okay, I'm going to tell you even better than that is when I took a comedy class taught by Sandy Shore, by the way, Mitzi's daughter, rest in peace to Mitzi. And, the showcase was at the Comedy Store. And it was like the end of the class graduation, it was in the OR. And I did this, oh man, I knew I had it. I knew I had the bug right then and there. Just that thing of like the whole crowd laughing at you, I was like, oh man, I love this. But after that, I didn't know what to do. Like literally right after, because they rolled the show. So let's say the 7:00 show was our graduation, and then they kept the crowd there, and then they started the real show. And it was like Mencia went up first, and I remember watching Mencia, and I was thinking, oh, I think I could do this. Because at the time, he wasn't, who he was. He was doing Taco Bell jokes and things like that. But he was dynamic, you know what I mean? So I thought...
What year is this?
Oh, man, it must have been 90-something,
4?
Yeah, like 94, 95. Because he brought up Chris Tucker. He had just... So Def Jam and all that was going on, too. This was like around that time. So he brought up... Mencia goes up first, and then he brings up Chris Tucker. And I remember watching Chris Tucker and thinking, I don't think I can do this. Because he just is like force of nature on stage at that time, So I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. That's the helpless feeling. Just sitting there thinking, okay, well, how do I get on that show? And you have no idea. There's no blueprint. There's no, there's no learning annex class, how to get on the main room stage. None of that kind of shit, And I just figured it out. I just started going to open mics. I went to the Long Beach, the Queen Mary. They had a comedy club at the Queen Mary. They had this open mic called Marv's and Mary's on Washington. The dude that owned, he loved comedy. So he would have like every night of the week, he would have 2 or 3 open mics. And then I just started to go in all these places. There was Canoga Bowl. There was all these little coffee houses. Some of them you had to pay for. I just kept doing it. And then that's how I realized, how you get work? You get your peers to think you're funny.
We're going in like fucking Marines. You understand me?
Welcome to church, motherfucker.